Welcome to Behind the Build. I am your host, Jonathan Jacobs. And today I have with me two gentlemen, founders of a new practice, an exciting practice out on the east coast of Canada. Today I have with me Lucas McDowell and Matthew Bishop of Bishop McDowell. Gentlemen, thank you for taking some time out of your day. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure chatting with you at the beginning of this before we hit record.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for the opportunity to meet with you.
I'm just going to reference if I can. So there's three men talking here. And if any of you are going to get confused while you're listening over whose voice is whose, this is Jonathan. Coming up is next is Matthew.
Hey, guys.
And this is Lucas.
Hey, test.
I do this actually because I just recently had someone tell me when there were two of us for the first time in this whole recording that they weren't entirely sure of whose voice was whose during the question and answer period. I was like, oh no, because this is not visual, you're just going to have to guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so start things off by saying in my research, I had been, as I always do, I'm looking through different practices, both locally in Toronto, nationally in Canada, and internationally beyond our borders. I have a recommendation to make before we get into this whole discussion with Lucas and Matthew, and that is don't skip over the ads. You might want to hear them because you're going to learn about some suppliers that we really value and trust that are best in class and in their class. And I'm going to start off by telling you about a window and door supplier that we've been working with for the last few years. They're called The Doors. And they're redefining kind of how we think about transitions, not just in architecture, but in how you experience light, air, and space. They're a premium supplier of European-style windows, doors, and curtain wall systems. They're based in Mississauga, that's just outside of Toronto. They've been serving us and other builders, as well as architects and clients across Canada, and now into the U.S., and they've been around for 19 years. In the US, they're starting to serve New York and Florida, Texas, and California. So later in this episode, you're going to hear Lucas and Matthew talk about detail about how decisions around casing, structure, and form shape a space. And that's the world The Doors operates in every day. Their work goes far beyond product. It's about integration, from oversized lift and slide doors to precision aluminum and glass systems. Their offerings are customized to the architecture. They're not just dropped in or an afterthought. They want to be a part of the conversation from the beginning. And their Mississauga showroom is worth the visit. It's a tactile experience, one where you can see how systems move, you can feel the hardware and understand the difference that quality makes. If you're interested in learning more about them, a system that's not off the shelf, that's completely customized with different colors, stop by in person. If you want to learn more, I'm happy to connect you with them. Feel free to email me. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at waldenhomes.ca. And I'm happy to make those introductions. But now, let's get back to it. And so in doing so, obviously, I come across a ton of different practices. And when I was looking through, I stumbled upon your practice, and I saw some incredible geometric shapes as a part of some of those designs, those fun designs. And I thought, well, they're definitely not thinking like a box. There's some angles here and there's some circles here, and this is not standard. So I reached out and asked you to be a part of this because I think that as a new practice, there'll probably be a lot for listeners to be able to associate with that are either more well established about what it was like in the early stages, but also for those that are in school or that they're perhaps a junior architect or intern architect at a practice right now, what it could be like for them as they want to look at pursuing their own personal growth. So I would open it up to either of you, and I would just ask. So maybe actually I'll direct it. So, and please don't feel saddened if I start with one and don't go to the other right off the bat. So I'll say, what's that? What's that, Matt?
We won't take it personally.
So I'll start with Matt to make sure, because he said he's not going to take it personally. I want to make sure he doesn't take it personally. So
Yeah.
Matthew, why don't you start with telling us a little bit about, like, your early life and what it was like for you, kind of getting inspired to become what is ultimately a business owner in design.
Okay. Well, I think I explored a much different path before finding architecture. I grew up in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
I always had a strong interest in design and building things and working with my hands. My grandfather had a wood shop, uh,
Oh,
kind of like a New Yankee style workshop in his basement. I think I built my first chair when I was 6 years old.
what?
Yeah.
Did you use like standard, are you using fasteners, or was this
No, I think
Japanese inspired?
I had full access to the wood shop down there using saws and using screws and stuff. And my grandfather used to pay me a toonie to clean up all the sawdust in his wood shop. Anyway, I ended
You've
up,
dated you by the way, you've dated yourself in saying that he paid you a toonie.
yeah, I know. I studied biology and kinesiology in my undergrad and was interested in pursuing a career in medicine. I worked in medical research for a number of years after university. And I guess, yeah, I still, I always like building things, like I said, and drawing things. I started taking some classes at the art college in Halifax called NASCAD.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed doing that. Architecture was kind of always in the back of my mind. So I ended up putting a portfolio together and getting into the program at Dalhousie. And I haven't really looked back since.
What year was that you went into Dow for architecture and planning?
A long time ago. No.
Fair enough. Okay, we won't answer that. We'll leave that. We'll park that one to the side.
I think around 2014.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Dell has a really great program that has co-op programs where you have the opportunity to get some professional experience while you're still in school. So I had the opportunity to work at a really great firm in Tucson, and for the past 10 years, I've been working at a practice in Halifax. That's where Lucas and I met each other.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a good succinct summary of 25 plus 30 years of life, if not more.
Yeah, I
Oh,
glazed
more than
over
that.
a couple
Just for
things.
the record, it's more than that. It's more than that.
Well,
Right,
look,
Matt?
I'm trying to be kind here. Okay, this is
I'm a little bit older than Lucas, okay? I'm a little
fair.
bit
You know what? I don't know how old Lucas is, and I'm not asking either. Okay. We'll park the age conversation next to the year in which you entered, we're gonna park the age conversation about 11 years ago in 2014. Lucas, what about yourself?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I definitely, in my younger years, didn't have any idea that I would end up in architecture at all. Sort of out of high school. Well, sorry. First off, I grew up in New Brunswick,
Okay.
a little town just north of Moncton called Irishtown. It's maybe 3-ish hour drive from here in Halifax. And yeah, coming out of high school, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. But my childhood best friend at the time was going to university. And my father, who's pretty decorated academically, probably sort of pushed me in that direction
I
to go
was
to
not
school.
expecting you to say decorated academically. I thought you were going to say decorated as like an army vet.
Oh no, no, far from it. He's far from that. But yeah, so I went to university, studied sciences for a little while. It did not stick whatsoever. And the big thing I realized from that was that I probably should lean into something that plays to one of my strengths a little bit more. So growing up, I was always drawing um, all the time, but it was just a hobby, really.
And what were you drawing?
Characters. I wanted to be a comic book artist for like the longest time, but couldn't really figure out how to make that work, I guess. I don't know.
Do you have any of those sketches still?
Oh yeah, a bunch. I have sketchbooks full of that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
still do a lot of drawing now,
I'm
actually.
gonna make a request if possible.
Sure.
when we're so in the week that this is airing, I tell everyone, you can look for our logo on Instagram. It's a blue logo with white writing. You can find the account there, and it'll be an opportunity to be able to see some of the work that Matthew and Lucas are going to want to share about the practice for you to see. But in addition to that, I also put stuff on stories, and so every now and again, someone has something really special that they might want to share from their past, and I just think it would be really cool if you had some sketches of that stuff that we could put that up. And then Matthew, if you had like a picture of one of the chairs that you designed as a child, just saying.
Going back.
Yeah, let's dig into those archives, set that up on stories. I think it's a really cool way for people to be able to connect with you.
100%. Yeah, no problem. For sure.
So, okay, so moving past that element.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I thought I should maybe try to lean into that a little bit. And funny enough, I remember specifically sitting in my dorm room with said best friend, and I was sitting there, I was drawing something, and he kind of leaned over and said, like, man, like, why don't you do something with that if you're not like happy studying sciences, right? So I was like, dang, I don't know why I never thought about that. Maybe that's a good idea. So anyway, I moved back in with my parents and started just looking into what was available nearby that was somewhat design related, something creative. And sure enough, I found like a little program, a little graphic design program in town. So I went into that and went through. It was, basically just like introduction to Adobe Creative Suite. So I learned all the Adobe programs through it, which turns out very useful now.
Yep.
And I was working as a freelance graphic designer for a little while after that, typical stuff, logos, business cards, websites. And funny enough, I was helping my uncle with a rebrand of his company, and he has an architectural design company in Calgary. And I remember venting to him a little bit about, I like what I'm doing, but it's not really satisfying me in the right way. And he was actually the one, I don't think I've ever even said this to him, but he was actually the one that said, hey, you should look into architecture school. I think you'd be really good at that. And so, yeah, a few months later, I started looking into it, found the closest school, which was here in Halifax, Dalhousie. Looked into what the requirements were. I needed a few prerequisites, so I enrolled in Dal just in the Bachelor of Arts program, got my prereqs, put together a little portfolio of fine artwork and graphic design stuff, and got in. And yeah, I think I haven't really looked back since. It's found some early success, whatever that means in school. So it felt like I was doing the right thing, and I think more than anything, what I noticed was that it was this new thing in my life that I could get obsessed about the same way I was obsessed about certain hobbies, whether that was drawing or mountain biking or anything like that. I felt the same way about this. And in that moment, I knew for sure, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be what I do for the rest of my life. And I swear to God, man, like almost no days have passed since that have ever felt like work. Like it's never really felt like a job. It's always felt super fun. So yeah, I'm just following that feeling now, I guess. Yeah.
I can associate with the level of interest in mountain biking.
Actually, Matt told me that earlier today. He's like, I think Jonathan's a mountain biker.
Yeah, if I have a get out of jail free card,
Yeah.
and that's a clear pass for like 8 hours, I will spend, if I can, 8 hours in trails. Yeah, I moved it to the area that I'm in just for that. And that's just not to digress from what you just said about your love and how your work feels like it's not work, but
Mhm.
on that one topic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I'm pretty diehard when it comes to the mountain biking. Been that way since I was super young. I mean, got my first bike when I was like, well, first legit mountain bike, I guess, when I was like 12, and I've never stopped since. I've
Yeah.
worked as a bicycle mechanic through high school. Like it's such a part of my identity. And yeah.
Well, and I just want to say this about this topic alone because
Mm.
I want to acknowledge that this is not why we're here. We're not here to talk about mountain biking, but for anyone out there that has ever found a hobby that allows you to completely dial into something that is, it's almost like blinders to the existence of everything else that the world has to offer. As we talk about pushing past expected forms, about moving beyond the box, I keep thinking about how the same approach applies to the spaces we experience, not just the ones we design. That's why I want to take a moment to talk about Kaplan's. They've completely rethought what an appliance showroom can be. Walk into their space in Toronto, and you won't find rows of stainless steel machines under fluorescent lights. Instead, you'll discover curated environments, fully immersive spaces tailored to individual manufacturers like Miele, Sub-Zero, Wolf, Jenn-Air, and more. Each one is designed to feel like an extension of your home, not a store aisle. You're not just looking at appliances, you're stepping into real, thoughtful kitchens that reflect how people actually live and cook. And if you're wondering what it's like to use a Miele steam oven or induction cooktop, you don't have to guess. Kaplan's has an in-house chef who hosts live cooking demos for you to experience what the product is capable of and how good the food can taste so you can enjoy. It's not about specs on paper, it's about tasting what that experience could feel like in your home. You can visit kaplans.ca or drop by the showroom to see how they're designing something totally different, something that feels more like a custom space and less like a box store. Or if you want a special experience, feel free to email me. It's Jonathan, JONATHAN at waldenhomes.ca, and I'll connect you with a specialist who will direct your needs to the right person suitable for you. When you're on a mountain bike and you're going down a challenging trail, the same way I guess it would be for in some ways skiing or snowboarding, potentially actually not. And if you're going through glades, mountain biking does not allow you to think about anything else. And if the second that you do, you're going to get injured. So you are totally focused on what's directly in front of you, and it allows you to have that type of hyper focus that you can shut down and just stay dialed in. So highly recommend it to anyone that wants to risk their life and have a great time.
I second that. Yeah.
Okay, so then that leads you to I guess working same practice as Matthew. What about the co-op? Where did you do your co-op prior to that?
Yes. So there's
What location? You don't
at
have to name
Dow.
names.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. It at Dow, in the bachelor you do a small 1 semester work term, and then in your master's you do a 2 semester work term. So a 4 month stint and then an 8 month stint later. So I did my 4 month stint here in town at McKayline Sweet Apple.
Yep.
And I did my second stint in Vancouver at a firm called Bing Tom. At the time, it's since rebranded to Reverie, unfortunately, after Bing's passing. So yeah, those were my two kind of spots. Yeah, very different sides of the coin, I would say, in terms of design style and method, but yeah, in a really good way at the same time.
And Matthew, where was you said one of yours was in Tucson.
Yeah, I did my long work term in Tucson, Arizona, which was, quite a different place to live in from Halifax.
Than even anywhere in Canada. I mean, it's completely different.
It felt completely foreign, forests of these saguaro cacti. You feel like you're on Mars, and the heat. It's like it's so like you can't. Arizona's really not fit to live there because it's so hot and it's such a dry heat. It's
Yeah.
like when you open your oven and you get that rush of hot air to your face. It's kind of like that when you go outside.
Great way to describe it. I've been there and I can totally associate with that feeling when you
Yeah,
leave
but
the air-conditioned space.
yeah, I had the opportunity to work for a really great office with a really great group of people who are super committed and passionate about architecture. I had the opportunity to go around and visit a lot of their projects. Where Tucson is also, it's close to a lot of different places. So I had the opportunity to travel around on the weekends or go to Texas. I would go to LA, and like Lucas, super passionate about architecture. And most of the traveling I do is kind of like pilgrimages to see different architects and different projects. So yeah.
There. And so the two of you end up working together at the same practice. And how long was that kind of venture between each of you individually?
I was there for 9, almost 10 years.
Okay.
I think Lucas was there for 6 or 7 years. Lucas and I worked on a project together that was, for some really great clients. It was a local project. So we ended up spending a lot of time together, doing a lot of site visits. We probably visited that construction site, 3 or 4 times a week.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. That was
Yeah.
kind of like my Mr. Miyagi. I was coming in, he was teaching me the ropes, wax on, wax off of a construction site,
Yeah. I think we developed a good working relationship, and we definitely have this shared passion for architecture. We both have the highest aspirations for architecture. I share Lucas's sentiment about, it never feels like work. It's just something that you enjoy doing. And we spent a lot of time doing it. And I think fortunately for us, we like found that thing. I'm not sure a lot of people do, but
Have you only because you've now both said it, I just have to ask the one question. Have you had to chase a client for an invoice yet?
Yes, it sucks.
Yeah,
Those days
that's
feel
when
like
it feels like work.
yeah, those days feel like work.
Yeah.
That's why I said most days. Most
Yeah,
days.
yeah. Just we want to make sure there's balance.
Yeah.
we've also been really fortunate to work with some really great clients. And, from our experience, the best projects always come when there's really great clients involved.
Oh yeah. So
it makes it easier to, if they're a bit late paying their bills.
definitely, I mean, for sure. As Lucas and Matthew were describing their early project experiences, especially the kind that put them on site regularly, watching details come together, I find myself thinking about elements that do more than just serve a function. The ones that carry both structural weight and visual clarity. That's exactly what Berman Stairs does. Their work lives at the intersection of engineering and design, whether it's folded steel, cantilevered treads, or minimalist glass reveal. Berman approaches stair design with architectural intent. These aren't filler components or afterthoughts. They've designed gestures, sculptural, structural, and specific to the space they live in. You see it most clearly in the way they collaborate. They work hand in hand with you as an architect and designer and a builder to ensure every stair becomes a moment, a point of transition that feels resolved, not generic. You can visit bermanstairs.com to explore how they're reimagining what stairs can be, not just a way to move between floors, but as an integral part of how a space is experienced. Or you can email me and I'll introduce you to them. It's Jonathan, JONATHAN at waldenhomes.ca. I want to ask you, so what does this look like when you guys decide that you want to go out and try to start this on your own? Outside of just having the dialogue internally between the two of you, were there others that you had potentially as mentors, but also within the family that you were able to draw upon to be able to ask their opinions on certain elements of how to structure this or what to look for?
Yeah. Well, funny enough, maybe just to take one step back from that,
Yeah.
even so Matt, I don't even think Matt and I knew we were gonna start this thing in the beginning. Like we didn't. We were we found ourselves in a situation where we had to sort of decide whether we were gonna go work for someone else or work for, at least in my those were kind of the two things I was considering. And Matt had kind of found himself in a similar situation as well, and we just sort of started going to have coffee together just to kind of like talk through like, hey, what are you thinking about doing next? What am I thinking about doing next? And slowly but surely that conversation did sort of start to mold into a dialogue about, hey, like, should we try something together? Like, but it took a little while. Like, it wasn't even the initial thought. At first, we were just trying to be supportive of one another and what we were going to do next. And yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No. I literally just interrupted the final thought you were going to add to that.
Well, I was just gonna, yeah, I guess just to reiterate that it's like we didn't know. I think we were both just trying to like do what felt right
Mhm.
and look at all of our options. And it really did naturally just sort of come to the decision to try and tackle this thing together.
It wasn't planned. People talk about happenstance. Like Lucas said, we were having these conversations and we were exploring all opportunities. And, it became the most exciting thing, at least for me, to pursue. And the more we talked about it and the more we got into the details of it, it just seemed more feasible. And for me, I think, I had thought about starting a practice in the past, but it wasn't really something that I wanted to pursue on my own. So having a partner was really important. And Lucas and I were talking a little bit about this earlier, just prepping for this. And
Yeah.
we both talked about the importance of our partnership. And like you said, you haven't interviewed many people, many partners. It's usually just kind of like sole practitioner. But
Yeah.
for us, it's like really important to have this partnership. We really value each other. We complement each other. We challenge each other. We view it as like a true partnership where we're both equivalent
I
and support each other. And I think that's been really helpful, especially earlier on as we are.
mhm. Yeah, one of the terms that we use a lot at Walden is like the concept of like it's just being lateral, and that there
Yeah.
is, you don't treat things, even though I understand that you're formulating this together, both your names are on a door, okay?
Right. Right.
And I'm using air quotes and saying that, but
Yeah.
that as it continues to develop, if you decide that this is going to be something that's going to involve more people, and you might get there very quickly, you might decide that that's not the case. And we can get there as we have this conversation, but that concept of lateral work and lateral roles where everyone kind of understands this is their role in making the ship move, or the locomotive, or whatever, however you want to describe that analogy, it completely changes the mindset of what work feels like, because now you know that everyone's respecting each other and you're working towards the same commonality of wanting to be successful.
Right.
So kind of with that said, let's go back to that question. Now understanding what led you down this path, who helped support the path.
Yeah. So at some point during these coffee dates we were having, we did start to sort of think about who we could talk to, whether that was other practitioners, young practitioners specifically was who we had in mind at the time, just to say like, hey, like you guys started your thing a couple years back. What were some do's and don'ts? And yeah, we reached out to a number of people, and everyone, almost everyone across the board was super supportive and gave us tons of their time. So yeah, I can't thank those people enough. But so yeah, we had a lot of conversations with other practitioners, which kind of also then evolved into maybe people that weren't necessarily in the same industry. So I've several entrepreneurs in my family, so we started talking to a bunch of them, people that were involved in other businesses here in town. We started talking to people like realtors or developers, and it just kind of like evolved into all these various conversations with people that we were reaching out to. And I think the biggest thing that was important about that was to sort of like establish some sort of community for ourselves to exist in, that we were, yeah, maybe that was something we were searching for. I don't know, but it did turn into this community, I suppose, and having these conversations with people. And yeah, we were just reaching out. And I think a lot of people just appreciated the hustle we were trying to put towards it. Like, it was almost like, oh, you guys are going to be business owners now. Welcome to this world. We would love to chat with you about that. Like, it was cool. Yeah, I don't know. It was, maybe it was maybe I wasn't reading it right, but it felt like that. Certainly. So yeah, we just kind of developed this community, this dialogue between people, and then slowly started to build up what the sort of business structure Matt and I were going to use to sort of build the company on.
Hmm.
And then yeah, even some work came out of that community building thing, right? Which of course, when you're starting out, you need the work, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so a lot of things came out of that. I would say that would be like a big recommendation, I guess, if I'm even in a position to give recommendations for
Yeah,
someone to
well,
start a
of
business, I don't
course.
know. But it's yeah, you got to get out there and talk to people, because no one's going to know what you're doing unless you go tell them. Like, you have to make that leap, and it's scary and it's weird, and you feel like you're bothering people at first, but it's just like, yeah, you just
Espe-
got to build that community.
Especially if you at a stage where like you don't have the product on
Yeah.
your own to be able to go and show people. So you have to talk about it. The
I think
talk.
that's why it was so important for Lucas and I to establish a community and to establish a network, not only to learn from like the shared experience, but to like feel supported,
Mhm.
to feel comforted by that shared experience. And
Mhm.
at least me, like it seemed that there's this kind of attitude amongst entrepreneurs and people who start their businesses of like supporting others because of the shared experience. So everyone was, you would reach out to people and say, "Hey, we're starting our practice," and they would be super congratulatory and be more than willing to like spend time with you. And we would ask them, what was your ambition to starting your practice? How do you promote yourself? How do you get work? How do you evaluate your success?
Mhm.
I was particularly interested in speaking with young practitioners who had worked at other firms for a long period of time to understand like how they manage the influence of that past experience on their own work moving forward. And yeah, and like Lucas said, like some work has come from that community and network of people, and sometimes from like the people you would least expect it to come from. There were times where like Lucas and I were pretty hesitant to reach out to people, but we ended up doing it, and then those people ended up being our strongest supporters and biggest cheerleaders. And so yeah, it's for us, it was really important to learn from all those other people and establish ourselves and let people know what we're doing at the same time.
Mhm. And so how have you structured between the two of you the roles of managing a practice?
Mhm.
Because you talked about how you complement each other. So from an understanding of what it could look like to go into a partnership, and again, I understand that it's early, but I actually didn't even ask. So in what year did you establish the practice?
This past May, actually.
So we're approaching, well, by the time this airs, you'll have been over a year old.
Mhm. Mhm.
Congratulations on now being able to form words potentially or cooing
We're
Yeah.
babies.
and rotating over, crawling, and potentially walking. So
Yes.
congratulations on all that. But it's and I say this because I think that it can be a hard thing to be able to determine who's going to take on what role within it.
Mhm.
Because I understand that there's a lot to a business. There's
Mhm. Mhm.
and the operational element is a big one. So what does that look like? How did you establish those roles between the
I
two of
don't
you?
I don't think we had a clear idea of what those roles would be and
Okay.
who would take on those roles. I
Okay.
think to some extent those things have kind of developed naturally.
Okay.
Mhm.
We do each have, while we complement each other, we each do have our own strengths and weaknesses.
Mhm.
We each have our own interests. I think what's really important is that we are just there to support each other and always be there to talk through things. We have our previous experience, but we are also reaching out to a lot of people, experts in their own fields, to learn about what we don't know. And yeah, like talking to a lawyer, talking to an accountant, all those different things that go into the business side of it.
Mhm.
Our previous experience weren't so focused on those aspects of the practice.
How do the basics of creating an invoice and sending an invoice out,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And the accounting associated with it.
The firm that we worked at before was quite small, and one of the benefits of that was we get to do a lot of things. So we do have quite a broad experience moving forward, and we were kind of involved in the design side of things, but also some of the business side of things. So we weren't super green coming into it. We had pretty good experience behind us, but still lots to learn and lots of conversations to have. And there's definitely times where we probably felt like we were drowning, but we're always there for each other and, taking it one day at a time, really, and understanding that some days are really tough, like you were telling us earlier, but always another
That was
day.
not on the recording.
And we're not afraid to make mistakes. We make mistakes, but I always say just don't try to not make the same mistake twice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely not a third time.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I mean, listen, there's, as far as the business side of it all goes, right? Like Matt said, yeah, we had a little bit of experience, certainly around invoicing and stuff like that, but I'm definitely learning more than I thought I was going to learn, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
thought I was like, oh, it's running a business. How hard can it be? No, it
So
turns out.
you've just heard Lucas and Matthew talking about pursuing bold and often organic geometries in their architecture. That spirit of experimentation is exactly what Aquanta Pools embodies, only in the backyard. Aquanta Pools is one of the only authorized contractors in Canada using Italian biodesign technology, crafting natural, custom swimming pools with beach like sand bottoms and fluid organic forms that feel sculpted by nature. These aren't just pools, they're bespoke water environments. You pick the shape, finishes, even marble and quartz layers. Everything is customizable, from gentle slopes to texture, so it feels like a seamless part of your landscape or an interior atrium if that's where creativity leads. And beyond that, Aquanta Pools isn't just about design, they're about responsible design. Their pools include natural filtration systems, antibacterial materials from Microban, slip resistant and pet friendly surfaces, and they're safer by design. If you're exploring how architecture and nature can merge, especially through meaningful custom shapes, Aquanta Pools offers a reminder that outdoor spaces aren't just afterthoughts. They can be as artful and intentional as anything inside the building envelope. To learn more or request a quote, feel free to go to their website at aquanta.ca or feel free to email me and I'll connect you with the owner. My email address again is Jonathan, Jonathan, at waldenhomes.ca. And let them show you how bold ideas can materialize in water, form, and landscape.
It's different.
What's
It's
an
hard.
example of that? Can you draw upon one?
Yeah, sure. Well, even a couple really basic ones, like even like the accounting Matt brought up. It's like, yeah, I mean, I know how to use Excel, but after a few transactions start to happen, it's like hard to stay on top of that stuff. And my time is better spent working on the projects. So yeah, we have an accountant now because we realized like, hey man, I can't do that on my own, or it's just not the best use of our time to do that. And if the business is in a healthy enough place to afford it, then why aren't we putting that somewhere else? Yeah, and
I
things
have
like a
to
website.
I have to say something on that one point. There was
Sure.
a practice that I spoke to, and they were part of an overall. We had to get together, and everyone was saying to this one practice, "You need to have someone manage the books."
Yeah.
And so I'm going to say it again now to that individual. I'm not going to mention any names,
Yeah.
but here we are. Lucas and Matt's practice is just over a year old at the point that we're listening to this, and they're already handing off an element of the bookkeeping to someone else. So as a reminder to anyone out there that is not yet doing that,
What
it will offload a lot of responsibility to make sure
Mhm.
that you can focus on the things that you want to do.
Yeah, it's just you got to put your efforts where they're most useful. Me chasing a spreadsheet is not that. So
Yeah, I think we recognize that we want to be spending our time doing the things that we're good at and
Yes.
empower other people and trust other people whose expertise that we can benefit from.
mm,
That's not to say that we're not interested in those other aspects. We definitely want to be like fully aware of what's going on.
Yes.
But like when someone decides to hire us, they're hiring us for our expertise and they're benefiting from that. And
Yeah, in design.
we hire an accountant, we can benefit from them, and they have much broader experience with that than we do. So,
Yeah, well, and the client benefits because they're going to get more of your time focused on the actual project. And then the cascade effect of that is that you're able to continue to hopefully be awarded with more projects so that you can
Right.
continue to do what you are set out to do, and that is to be a design practice and not an
Yes.
accounting practice.
Yeah, exactly. And that was an easy one. The one that we're finding harder right now is like, okay, we have a great Instagram, that's fine. We don't have a web page. Well, there's a landing page,
Yeah.
and we've been constantly thinking about, oh, well, like, should I build out the website now? Should I build out the website now? And it's like that's a design related thing, in a sense, right? So we're having a hard time necessarily letting go of that. Yeah, I guess as a contrast to something that was super easy to let go of. But
Right.
I don't know if that website's ever going to get done at this point if we don't hand it off to someone else. So there's that too. Yeah.
See, and I think that by talking about it, you kind of just made the conclusion that you need to make.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's fair.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's
I mean, it's just really finding the right people to work with who are skilled
Yeah.
and like share the passion for what they do. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's talk about this. So over the last year, Bishop McDowell exists, and what have the projects look like from, I would say, well, from an ambition standpoint and your desire to, get this thing off the ground, lead towards something probably more than what you start out with, largely,
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So actually, before I assume, just what do the projects look like at the beginning?
Sure. Sure.
maybe we just quickly start by saying, I mentioned about our previous, we both talked about our previous experience and
Yeah.
we're conscious of that moving forward. And, we came from an office that had a very strong identity and design language. We've been working within that for the past 10 years. Sometimes when, some of the other practitioners that we have spoken to or read about are willing to just kind of like ignore their past and start fresh. But I think Lucas and I are willing to embrace lessons learned to some extent. But, we also have our own ideas and want to explore other ideas. So the idea of work, some of the work that you see on our Instagram is commission work, and some of it is speculative or exploratory. So we are pretty much constantly exploring design ideas together. And those exploratory exercises, speculative work, always one way or another feed into the commission work.
That makes sense. I mean, someone's coming across you as a business is looking at what's out there in some way, right?
Yeah.
Or at least it's again a talking track to what you're capable of bringing forward in ideas. So it would only make sense that you're going to be able to draw upon some of those explorative concepts and bring them into something that you're going to eventually have become a tangible product.
Yeah, and that the speculative stuff was super important, I would say. I mean, right out of the gate, we were really lucky. We had these two. They're both on our Instagram. One's called Lawrence Town Residence. The other's called, we're just calling it corporate headquarters. But two real projects right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Was something for us to kind of like build off of. They're both done construction now, so things we had started a little bit before the inception of our business, and
Yeah.
so that was great, right? We had this like stuff in the ground that made us feel like, hey, okay, we're doing it. This is awesome. So a couple projects were on the go. Like I said, building that community stuff, so that having that stuff in the ground helped us sort of get a couple projects out of the community building portion of what we were doing. But a big thing for Matt and I was like, we didn't just want to have to wait to get more projects to explore what our joint effort was going to be in terms of design and our sort of like ethos behind that, right? So we just started saying like, okay, let's just start sharing ideas with each other. we'd send each other maybe like little projects that we liked or a little sketch that we liked. And then the other person would
That
send
you
back
that
another
you were creating yourselves, or that you were seeing as inspiration from others, or what, or both?
that we were creating, kind of a little bit of both, but like each someone would send a picture of an existing project, be like, oh, that's a sweet roof detail or something, and then one of us would do like a little sketch or something, take a photo, send it back. Then the other would, do another sketch, send it back, and then someone would start modeling it, and it was just like, again, totally natural. But we're obsessed with this stuff, right? So it's like we just started building off of it, and then did like, yeah, one speculative project, super fun, made some nice images of it. Sure enough, that's led into, or is inspiring, a current project that we're working on in schematic design now. So amazing. But we just kept doing that, back and forth, and then that was helping us test our ideas. I don't know if you could even call it a language yet, because we're so new, but like, it was helping us evolve past maybe our individual ideas, coming together and creating something new out of that.
Mhm.
And
Well,
and so yeah,
and largely, I know that you work together in another practice, but now also on your own, your communication style, and to the point you just said, developing what this thing's going to look like.
mm,
That's what this is.
yeah,
And those concepts aren't, because they're not commissioned. It's free reign on the creative mind, right?
yeah,
Well, that's another thing. There's like the ideas, and then there's the representation of the ideas, whether it's a drawing or a rendering or a model or a sketch. And so it's like exploring different ideas, but it also has been, exploring different modes of representation. What is the way that we want to communicate our work
Hmm.
to others? That ideas are great, but if you can't communicate them clearly, if people can't respond to them, then they're just ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
mhm,
Just to give an example, you probably ask us for an example. It's sometimes the commission work feeds into the speculative work too. So one project that we worked on, locally, a housing project, was kind of like a series of houses where there was kind of a kit of parts that were reconfigured depending on the site conditions, or what the program was. And then I think you asked us, there's one project called Tilt House. That's these two extruded rectilinear volumes that are tilted up on edge and then
That's what you and I first talked
are
about.
slid
yeah,
past each other.
Yeah.
I mean, so we were kind of working on the housing project and then got an idea about maybe there's another way of exploring what the expression of one of those houses would be. And I'm not sure if there's an American architect named Andrew Geller who did these crazy playful and sculptural houses in like the 1960s and 1950s in the Hamptons. There's these little wood houses,
Yeah, I'm looking at them now.
that are pretty, have different strong geometries. So that tilt house was inspired by one of Andrew Geller's projects, but is its own thing.
Yeah.
That led to a whole, range of different spatial conditions that were pretty interesting, and I think makes that house pretty unique.
Yeah. I mean, as I'm looking at Andrew Geller's work here,
yeah,
as you bring this up, you have to think about that. Like, where are you starting the floor structure,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
On that lower angle.
yeah,
And what's it going to be used for? Because you don't have useless space. And so
exactly.
you purpose it for interior space in some way. Is it being used for exterior storage that you can access?
Mhm,
Like there's
mhm,
a lot of ways to be able to look at what are you gonna do with this? Which
yeah,
which is just I think it's a really interesting way of being able to go and create, because dropping off that sentence and talking to so many people have started and they have like, they have this small basement renovation, or they
mhm,
start out and they've got a new home, or they've got an office space to go and create. And so they're never really presented with the opportunity, because some of them want to be busy with the projects.
yeah,
They're not as focused on the concept of trying to go and create like this,
mm,
conceptual projects, or if they are, you know what, maybe they just hadn't referenced it with me,
Right.
which is fair. But
Right.
the idea of being able to go in and do this is a really, really interesting way to be able to hone in on your own skill sets and your creative process, to your point, that you can draw upon with clients and that are going to potentially actually draw in a client.
Yeah.
Because a client that sees something like this,
Yeah.
that says, I really like that, you already know that you're going to be able to have fun on this project.
hmm Well, I think it's just, yeah, it was so important for us to show what we were willing to do. You know what I mean? Like even some of the stuff that we already had and stuff that was getting built, like yeah, it was cool. I mean, it's still of what we're trying to make whatever Bishop McDowell is. It's of that for sure. But we were like, man, like how far are we willing to push it? Like we need to show people how far we're willing to go. Yeah, as just like a kickoff. And I have to give Matt credit on this point too, where I was like in the beginning, you know, the first few posts on our Instagram, because that's just the only place we show our work right now. Those are that's the real stuff. And I was kind of leaning towards like just keeping it to the real stuff. Or sorry, I'm not supposed to call it the real stuff. It's the commission stuff. Sorry.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. This
but
is an informal dialogue in any event. Okay. So have people
Commission,
swearing on here. Don't worry.
okay.
commissioned or
But
speculative work they're both real,
yeah,
real work.
yeah. Matt corrected me
Well,
earlier.
one's
Yeah.
tangible and one's not. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. This isn't the cell. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm referencing that movie, if anyone knows that movie.
Yeah. But I got to give Matt credit because he was the one that kind of said, like, man, you know what? It's speculative. Who cares? Let's put it out there. It's cool. I was like hesitant at first, but I'm so happy we did because it's just whether it was generating a dialogue with a client or even just again part of this community building thing where we're talking to other practitioners who are like super complimentary of the work.
Yeah.
It just started the dialogue and like, man, we have so many relationships now because of it. So
Well,
yeah,
look, it's also sparked my interest in wanting to have a chat with you too, because I just
right.
I thought it was really interesting, which hopefully from this medium hopefully puts other people that are in this field aware of really the amazing talent that we have in this country. I just I want to say that because I think that's also something that we joked about at the beginning, right? I said like this is the CRTC. I don't remember if I said that while we were recording or if that was pre-recording because so much of the content is about Canadian architecture. We sprinkle in some of the international stuff, but there's a keen interest in that in the creative process and trying to figure it out and what it can look like and what it can lead to. So kind of with that said, I want to lead into the idea of like what does it look like on a go forward basis? What does a 5-year plan look like for the two of you?
Yeah. Well, you know, so much of our past experience and experience so far with the business has been in the sort of private residential world, right? And yeah, that's been our bread and butter for years now, right? So we're super familiar with it. It's an easy, not easy, but it's kind of like a default way of operating in our minds in a sense at this point. I think as things progress, Matt and I have a strong desire to move into the public world a little bit more. I mean, I also understand all the hardships that come with trying to get that type of work as a small new practice. Totally understand that as well. But we would love to. I think getting to a point where we could do maybe, yeah, more public stuff. So it's more. We love a private residential home. Don't get me wrong, but it's like maybe there's like a nice moral part to being able to contribute to a project that everyone gets to use. That would be amazing, I think, for us.
One of the I think most profound quotes that I've heard from someone so far in all of my discussions came from Drew Mandel when he said that the interesting difference between anything that it can be, commercial, public, institutional, whatever it's going to be, versus single family residential, is that when upon project completion, one of them closes its doors and the other one opens its doors.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
it has stuck with me in every single discussion I have with people because it is a really, it's could not be more accurate to the
So
point you
true.
just made.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah,
and
it's so true.
and there's that inkling within the community to want to have an ability to have a social impact with something like a library,
Mhm.
or a gallery or a museum, something along those lines where there's a strong interaction between the public and the work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, like even just to go back to that Vancouver firm I was working at, like almost all the work was that public public stuff, and you'd go and visit these projects when they were done, or it was just like amazing. Like the way you get to sit there and like see people use the work. It's
Yeah.
I mean, you do get a similar experience to that if like for instance, Matt and I just had one of our projects photographed recently, and we got to spend some more time there and watch the family use the house. Like that amazing experience that, probably the best part, truly.
Yeah.
Not to be cliche, but like, yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, if you had like a library, like you say, Matt and I could go there every day and have that experience. That would
Right.
be so cool.
Instead of having a coffee in the shop, you just grab that coffee and go to the library. And
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely, I would say, maybe our biggest ambition, and Matt, maybe you feel differently, but I'm pretty confident that we feel the same way about that.
I mean, we're pretty rigorous about the way we approach our work. When you ask us about a 5-year plan,
yeah.
we don't have a written document that describes what we want to do over the next 5 years. But we have talked about the work that we want to do and how we like to work. Right now, it's just Lucas and I, and we like that. We have the experience of working in larger firms. We know that if we hire people, we have to spend more time managing those people. Expenses go up. It's a question of, the work we want to do versus how we want to work. What kind of projects do we want to take on?
Mhm.
It would be great to take on some interior fit ups as well, in the commercial retail domain. Like Lucas said, the bulk of our experiences is in residential. We love doing that work. I particularly love that work because you develop a really close relationship with the clients.
Yeah.
And I find that really meaningful. I also really enjoy working directly with the builder and learning a lot from the builder. One of my favorite things about, doing architecture is being on site with the builder and, reviewing construction.
Mhm.
But yeah, thinking about the work we want to do and how we want to work going forward, I think is really important.
I want to ask the last few questions because we've touched on a good amount of the where, the now, and the potential future. So, and we really briefly touched on what you like to do outside of work to be able to take your mind off of it.
Yeah.
So, what does that look like for each of you? When you do call what in the end is work at the end of your day.
Yeah.
Although I know you're entrepreneurs, so that means that it doesn't always end. Okay, I acknowledge that at 8 o'clock at night there might be a laptop open or something. Okay,
24/7.
24/7. Oh, you're like Neo,
Yeah.
just dialed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Our wives would confirm that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you married. How has that been as you start up the practice? I'm sure that there's in some ways a time suck that's devoted towards developing this. So how does that work on the personal side of things?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, we have very supportive partners. That's been huge.
Fantastic start.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fantastic. My wife is all actually she is an architect in
Okay.
town here. So she certainly has a respect for what we're trying to do,
Yeah.
which has been great. I also, upon starting all of this, I had a 5-month-old child and a wife on maternity leave. So that was yeah, I don't want to make anything easier for myself, I guess. That was a huge part. But to that same point, if I'm not working, spending time with my wife and my daughter now. So, which is, yeah, honestly, in a lot of weird ways, I don't know if I would have had the guts to do it if I didn't have them. I'm lucky I have Matt, but like for those brief moments where you detach,
Yeah.
they've helped me stay detached from the work, I think. Which is, yeah, you need a break sometimes. So
Yeah.
it's really good. Yeah.
Definitely need a supportive family, especially when times are tough. That being said, it is good to kind of get away from it from time to time and reflect on the work that you have done. Sometimes Lucas and I have to kind of like step outside of ourselves and say, hey, look what we have done in this short period of time. It's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I've always been a big sports guy. I've always played a lot of different sports. I continue to try to stay fit, try to mix in a lot of fitness through the week, try to encourage this guy to mix in some fitness.
What
Whoa.
define fitness? What does fitness look like?
Fitness can be anything. It can be going for a walk, going
Yeah.
for a jog, playing tennis, playing squash, going for a bike ride. It's just, it's good for your mental health. It's good for
Yes.
your physical health.
Yep.
We are so passionate about it and committed to it. It is important to take breaks from time to time and to step back and reflect. And it's important to take care of yourself, especially as Lucas likes to remind me of my age.
I mean, look, the other element there too is that you say that it's good for your mental health, good for your personal health, and all the rest of it. But ultimately, what it drastically helps is your professional health,
Yeah.
right? Like you talk about the others, but what it's really impacting is your ability to now be reset coming into what you want to do. That's going to help pay the bills to do the other fun things that you get to do outside of it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I personally find when I am less active, I am less efficient at my job than when I am more active. Because now I've got the actual equilibrium of the balance, that you got the output on one side and you got the output on the other side. And you can hear people say, oh, you sounds like you're burning the candle on both ends. Like, no. No, I'm just burning the candle.
Yeah. That's a great point, man.
I think that's one of the nice things about our partnership. And, we do view it as a real partnership where we're equals, but, one of us can be having a bad day for whatever reason. And the other person's always there to talk it through and support the other person.
Yeah. It's vastly important.
Yeah, it's huge.
Gents, I want to thank you. I know that it was a time seems to pass by pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you posting some of the amazing geometry and beautiful conceptual work on Instagram, because it helped me find you. So thank you for that. Thank you for taking some time as you continue to develop your practice and you work on what is in front of you, to step away from it and talk to me about this. I hope that everyone that's listening has enjoyed this. If you're a student out there, you're a junior architect, an intern architect, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of different stuff here that you can take away from this for yourself as you try to find your own path and what you're going to do. And I appreciate both of you, being really candid and talking about the challenges of starting your own practice. And also, as we talked about many things in the final stages there, talking about what life looks like outside of work, because some people like to keep that closed. And I really try to have you open up a little bit about it, because that's what makes us human.
Yeah, it's very true.
Easiest way to connect with people is when we can realize we're all human. We're either going to end up 6 feet in the ground or in a vase.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah, it's so true, man. It's so true. Well,
or maybe not 6 feet in the ground. Maybe you're going to be in a nice little shelter, architectural shelter.
I guess we could do that. We could move into gravestones, maybe. Yeah, right? Man, just saying.
Well, I can't believe we're saying this. What's the I can't think of the name. Is mausoleum, right?
Yeah.
Woo! Well, that was dark.
Morbid, huh? We're getting a little morbid here at the end.
I was just saying, like, I don't understand what I just did there to wrap this one up.
Dude, you went too deep, man.
Yeah. Well, no, the mausoleum's actually not deep. Gents, thank you again. I honestly appreciate it, and for dealing with me. Thank you.
I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, and really enjoy your podcast generally. So happy to do it.
Appreciate it. Yeah, man. Thanks so much.